Welcome back. The Southern U.S. state of Texas is known as the Lone Star State because of its history as an independent republic. But will it hold up to its history of being a solid conservative state, or are Texans increasingly accepting Democratic Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, a self-described socialist with a huge, costly agenda? VOA's Carolyn Presutti reports from Texas.
There's something different about Texas, with its relaxed pace and strong traditions.
We take our barbecue pretty serious.
Just like politics.
We're a red state.
Some might say ruby red because of its predictable conservatives. In 1980, Republican Ronald Reagan won 55% of the Texas vote and went on to win the presidency. Ever since then, every 4 years, Texas has voted Republican for president. But slow down now. That tradition could change. While the state Democratic Party has historically been moderate, Senator Bernie Sanders, a Democratic socialist who promotes Medicare for all, is leading in the polls.
He stands for really good things, especially, the healthcare and stuff.
I think democratic socialism really takes the power away from the big businesses and gives it back to the people.
Others can't explain his appeal.
We've gone from, getting wealthy being the American dream to getting wealthy being something to be ashamed about.
Experts say younger voters and Hispanics will turn out for Sanders on Super Tuesday. In 2 years, Hispanics are expected to overtake whites as the majority in Texas.
Younger people, the minorities, that's going to make the difference in turning Texas blue.
At the American Rodeo semifinals, a Republican who may buck her party in November for former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg.
If Bloomberg gets nominated for the Democrats, then it would be a tough decision.
Recent polls show Sanders winning with 30% of the vote, ahead of former Vice President Joe Biden. Longtime Texas Republican consultant Craig Murphy says Sanders' numbers don't add up.
Even when he lost to Hillary last time, he had 35%. So he's literally polling below what he got 4 years ago.
Lupe Valdez witnessed Texas voting changes firsthand. She was elected in Dallas County, Texas, and became the nation's first Hispanic gay sheriff, but lost a run for governor. On Sanders,
I think he's promising a lot of stuff that people think is going to be done. But as much as I like his ideas, which, by the way, I love them, right now, I think it has to be at a slower pace.
not fast enough for some. But this is Texas, where on Super Tuesday, every candidate wants to snare most of the state's 228 delegates.
Now, Texas has over 200 delegates up for grabs in today's primary, and VOA's Carolyn Presutti is in the Lone Star State reporting on the latest from Dallas. Hello, Caroline. Bernie Sanders, as you rightly said, is ahead in the polls in Texas, but will he be able to hold off Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren?
Hello from Dallas, Texas. Esther, let me take you back to last night, though. First, that's where Vice President Joe Biden held his rally. Hundreds of people packed into a huge dance ballroom to support their candidate. The first people in line got there 5 hours before the event. And of course, who introduced former Vice President Joe Biden? It was Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, who announced that she was suspending her candidacy, and then she was putting her support behind Biden. And she described him as a candidate who will put our country back together to heal. And of course, then the crowd just started chanting, "Let's go, Joe! Let's go, Joe!" Now, what was interesting, the entire night, even the 10 speakers before Joe took the stand, never mentioned the name Bernie Sanders. And of course, he is winning in the polls here. We'll see, though, what he does today. All those supporters from last night, all the Sanders supporters, are out at the polls today. And as you mentioned, to get those 228 delegates here in Texas.
So, Caroline, you mentioned Amy Klobuchar. We know she dropped off, and also Pete Buttigieg. What does this signal in the race ahead?
Well, most experts will tell you that this signals a consolidation in the Democratic Party. It seems like a lot of the party officials, a lot of the establishment got together and looked at who was still in the running, and they said, who's going to beat President Donald Trump in November? And they decided that a Democratic socialist, Bernie Sanders, wasn't going to do it. So once former Vice President Biden won South Carolina, they decided to put their efforts behind him. And ever since that win Saturday in South Carolina, Biden has received 19 major endorsements from Democrats. So it just shows you how he popped up to the top rather quickly. And by the end of tonight into tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, we should have a better handle on this race.
So very quickly, Caroline, is the entry of Michael Bloomberg seen as a wild card or a spoiler in Texas?
Maybe a little bit of both, Esther. You know, Mike Bloomberg today is in Florida. Now, Florida doesn't hold its primary until March 17th. So you have to ask yourself, why is he in one of the Super Tuesday states? He has 100 field offices in the Super Tuesday states, 19 right here in Texas, but here he is in Florida. Now, Mike Bloomberg has said, I'm in it to win it. That's his big quote. He certainly has enough money. He's already spent almost $500 million to win the nomination for a Democratic Party.
Thank you, Caroline. VOA's Carolyn Presutti reporting live from Dallas, Texas. And now let's go to the eastern state of Virginia, where Africa 54 managing editor Vincent Makori is standing by live in Arlington to update us on the primary race there. Hello, Vincent. What's at stake in Virginia?
Hey, hello, Esther. What is at stake here is 99 delegates that will be the delegates numbers that will go to the person who wins in this particular state. And that is significant, especially if that same person wins substantially, especially in California, a state like Texas. And that's very critical, especially for someone like Joe Biden, who at the moment is trailing Bernie Sanders.
So, Vincent, what are Virginia voters looking for from these candidates?
Well, I've spoken to a number of the voters here. They're saying a majority are mentioning issues of health care, affordable health care. Environment is another issue, and especially when you go to the younger demographics. And quite a number of them also mentioning the question of education, the affordable and good education. Now, many feel that mostly the top two, that is Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, are the better candidates to handle these issues. One of the things I haven't had I think I haven't spoken to a person who mentioned Mike Bloomberg at this point, except for one person I saw wearing a T-shirt, Mike Bloomberg T-shirt, but I haven't had anybody say that they consider him as a person who would handle any of these issues.
Vincent, it looks like we have to wrap it up with you from the great state of Virginia. Thank you so much. Africa 54 managing editor Vincent Makori reporting live from Arlington, Virginia.